A group of young people decide to celebrate their graduation at a water park, but discover that the place is haunted by traps installed on each of the rides. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Aqua's Lash, from 2019. In a workshop, an unknown blacksmith is finishing forging his blade. After passing through the sander several times, the blade is sharp and ready for use. Far away, in a water park, a couple in love hide in the stairwell to enjoy a romantic evening. While they are declaring their love for each other, they hear a noise in the distance and the girl is disturbed by it. However, her boyfriend tells her not to worry and decides to take her to another place in the park where they can be more comfortable. The two then climb the stairs and go back to enjoying the evening. But the same blacksmith who was sharpening his blade appears on the scene and surprises them. The young man is frightened and doesn't react, but when he sees the huge machete the guy is carrying, he backs away and ends up falling over a fence. Soon afterwards, his girlfriend begs the stranger to spare her life, but he ignores her and starts hitting her with his machete. Seconds later, the girl's parts were thrown off the slide, falling on top of her boyfriend, who was also knocked out by the fall. The whole horror scene took place at the Wet Valley Water Park, which, despite its bad reputation, is awaiting the arrival of students from Valley Hills School. Hours later, a bus and several cars bring the students, who are going to celebrate their graduation at the water park. Among them is Josh, the guitarist from the rock band called The Blades, who has just arrived in the van, along with his classmates, Chad and Slim. But before they can take their instruments to the water park, one of the students, called Phil, starts harassing them. Chad sets out to help Josh, but Phil soon gathers his friends and they all start bad-mouthing their band and even threatening to attack them. Luckily, the head of the school committee, Alice, uses a megaphone to tell Phil to behave and humiliates him in front of everyone. She then announces to the students that, in keeping with the park's tradition since the 1980s, they will be celebrating graduation this weekend, which promises to be the best of their lives. This announcement immediately gets all the students excited and they set off to enjoy the next few days with lots of drinking and swimming. Meanwhile, the band The Blades head to the club's makeshift stage and start setting up the sound equipment for the show. By surprise, the park janitor shows up and introduces himself as Conrad. He lends power cables to connect the instruments and speakers, but warns the band not to play the current electronic music that the old man hates so much. Josh explains that his band plays classic 80s rock and that's enough for the janitor to be satisfied. He takes advantage of the conversation and says that he already worked there when it opened in the 80s and Wet Valley was known as one of the most famous water parks in the region. However, the eliminations that took place there gave the town a bad name and the park was increasingly abandoned by the locals. Even so, the old man tells the youngsters that the eliminations were just tragic accidents, and not something criminal, as the rumors say. Even so, the old man advises Josh and his friends to be careful and that he'll be around if they need help. Meanwhile, in another part of the park, one of the site's members, Priscilla, presents the students with the car wash challenge. Basically, the girls have to clean the cars in the park to raise enough money to win a trip to Europe. The students become interested in winning the prize and start cleaning the cars one after the other. Shortly afterwards, Tommy, one of the employees, is looking for his girlfriend, Kimberly. Priscilla tells him that he should be doing his job, but he doesn't care and continues looking for his girlfriend. Meanwhile, the girl goes to the stage, where Josh is finishing tuning his guitar. Kimberly used to be his girlfriend and is working in the park, but when they meet, the two are awkward and show that they still have feelings for each other. However, the conversation is soon interrupted by Tommy, who shows a jealous attitude towards his girlfriend. He asks her to leave and they go out for a bite to eat, but this only makes Josh more motivated to get his ex-girlfriend back. Later, Kimberly returns to work and is told by the communicator that one of the students is going down the slide, holding a bottle of drink. She tries to stop him, but it's too late, as another student has also gone down the slide and ended up injuring himself by hitting his head on the other student's bottle. At the same time, on the beach near the park, Priscilla takes the opportunity to relax a little and flaunts her beauty to all the students around. Alice, Chad and Slim observe everything and, shortly afterwards, Phil appears and thinks about approaching the beautiful park employee. However, the trio make fun of Phil, who gets angry and leaves. Slim then seizes the opportunity and sets off to talk to Priscilla, but before he can try anything, she receives a call from Michael, Josh's father, inviting her on a date. Things didn't work out so well for Slim, and even less so for the youngsters who had an accident in the pool. The two are taken away by ambulance, but the park's owner, Paul, keeps the place running and just tells Conrad to clean the pool. Hours later, Josh and his band are gathered in the van and see Tommy walking past Kimberly. Chad and Slim ask Tommy to help them with the sound mix for the show and, even against his will, he accepts. The three of them leave, leaving Kimberly and Josh alone, and the guitarist, without thinking twice, kisses his ex-girlfriend. The two talk about the breakup that happened because of a misunderstanding, and the couple reconciles. Unbeknownst to Josh, his father, Michael, is in a luxurious restaurant with Priscilla. Back at the park, Josh and Kimberly sneak into the restroom and have their romantic moment hidden from everyone. However, what they didn't know was that nearby was Phil, who not only saw everything, but recorded the whole moment with his cell phone camera. When the night comes, the couple split up and decide to keep what happened a secret, especially from Tommy. Then it's time for the band to start the show, and everything seems to be going well, but Phil shares the video with everyone at the party, until it reaches Tommy's eyes. Enraged, he runs up to the stage and punches Josh in the face, ending the show. Chad tries to help his friend, but is also hit, while Slim, seeing that there's nothing he can do, just backs off. Tommy then sets out to attack Josh, but soon afterwards Priscilla appears and not only tells him to stop it, but also fires him from the park. The guy obeys and leaves, but before he does, he threatens everyone and even pulls Kimberly away with him. After the confusion, Priscilla apologizes to Josh for what happened, but her attention is soon directed to Paul, who is standing next to Alice. The two of them find out about each other's secret affair and leave. Meanwhile, Chad helps Josh up and takes him back to his room, but on the way, they run into Michael. Chad leaves them alone, but the relationship between father and son is not the best. Michael tries to come across as a concerned father and even says he's going to buy the park to give to Josh. However, his son resents him and says that, even with all his fortune, Michael won't buy his love and consideration. Minutes after the fight at the concert, Chad is in his room and is visited by Kimberly, who is looking for Josh. The guitarist arrives soon after and the two go for a walk to talk about what happened. The night goes on without a hitch, but the same man who eliminated the couple in the park shows up again. He goes to one of the slides and sticks two sharp blades into it, forming an X in the middle of the tunnel. The next morning, Michael is checking out the park he wants to buy, but the mysterious man appears from behind and points a revolver at him. The guy gets scared and asks what he wants, but the villain just shoots him in the foot and tells him to go into storage. Inside, Michael crawls around looking for a way out, but when he opens the door to the warehouse, he finds the bodies of the couple, eliminated by the mysterious guy. Michael despairs and begs for mercy, but the villain doesn't care and just finishes him off with another shot. Nearby, Tommy continues to text Kimberly, apologizing and trying to get back together. But soon he is surprised by old Conrad, who gets into his car and tells Tommy to let the girl go, because the truth is that she never loved him. Even so, Tommy refuses to believe it and tells the old man to go away and mind his own business. Conrad obeys and gets out of the car, making fun of Tommy for being just another young man who doesn't know how to deal with his problems. At the same moment, a boy is on the beach in the park, next to his mother, but he has an injured foot. He asks the woman to take him back home, but she says she's already paid for the day and just throws him a plastic bag to tie around his injured foot. He obeys his mother and continues to play, until suddenly he finds an old tape player buried in the sand. Miraculously, the player, which also has a headset, still works and the young man starts to listen to the songs on the tape, but again, his mother doesn't give a damn. The day continues as normal in the park, with the young students preparing for more hours of fun. Old Conrad even turns the crank to release the water in the toboggan run, without suspecting the sharp trap that has been placed inside. To make matters worse, on the same day, the students will be competing in a toboggan race known as the Sea Serpent. Groups of 3 have to go down the tunnels and the trio that reaches the pool first will be the winners. The groups organize themselves for the contest, but Tommy shows up at the venue, saying he's going to take part too, but this time as a customer. He forces his way in, only for Phil and his cronies to stop him and, seeing that he can't take them all on, Tommy gives up. Finally, the trios are formed, with one of them being Josh, Kimberly and Chad, and the other being Alice and 2 other friends. However, Tommy sees that one of the slides is leaking and fears that a serious accident will happen. He then tries to climb the stairs, this time to warn everyone not to go down the slide, but Phil again steps in front and stops him. Finally, it's time for the challenge and Paul, alongside Priscilla, explains the rules to everyone. The trios must hold on to each other for the entire journey and the winning team will receive $500 as a prize. Conrad will be down below waiting for everyone, to act as a lifeguard if necessary. With everything explained, the trios gather on the 3 slides and Paul fires his gun, signaling the start of the competition. Just then, Tommy climbs the stairs and warns everyone that there's going to be a serious accident. He shows the evidence that one of the slides is damaged, but nobody listens. Tommy insists, saying that it is now 35 years since the crimes first took place in the park and that everything will happen again on this day. Unfortunately, Paul and Priscilla decide to go ahead with the challenge and the trios go down the chutes. Apparently, everything is going well on the course and Paul sends more trios down the tunnels, but Tommy insists on stopping them. Because of this, Phil gets angry and pushes Tommy who, by accident, ends up going down one of the slides. The trio continue their descent, but to Alice's misfortune, the tunnel she and her friends have chosen is the one with the trap of the two crossed blades. As she was in front of the trio, she is pushed towards the blades and her body is completely destroyed. Minutes later, the trio of Josh, Kimberly and Chad arrive first in the pool, crowning themselves the winners, but on Alice's slide, all that comes out is blood and parts of the girl. Everyone stares in horror at what has happened and Conrad, who was on watch, ends up fainting from the shock and falls on his own foot. Just then, Josh tries to climb up the slide to help his friend, but ends up slipping on Alice's body parts. The terrible scene is seen by the young man with the tape player and his mother, who calls the authorities to report the incident. However, her son is distracted by the music and leaves, while his mother slips into the pool, which is covered in blood. The chaos continues as the other two friends who were trapped between the blades are pushed by the force of the water. The second friend, who was just behind Alice, begins to be pushed towards the sharp iron and is unable to resist, her body being destroyed. After that, it's the turn of the third young woman, who tries to lean on her friend's body, but like her, is also pressed down by the force of the water. She ends up being pushed towards the blades, becoming yet another victim of the criminal who placed the irons inside the slide. However, inside the tunnel, there is still one more person to go through, Tommy. To his misfortune, he was pushed right off the slide that Alice entered and now, seeing the blades and the bodies of the young women in front of him, Tommy tries his best to hold onto the tunnel, supporting himself with his feet. Even so, he is gradually carried away by the current, until finally, he touches the last victim and slowly approaches the blades. Meanwhile, Conrad pulls himself together and tells Paul and Priscilla to stop going down the slides immediately. However, the communicator is faulty and, believing that the race is proceeding normally, the couple decide to enter the race, each with their own teams. Paul goes with two other students, while Priscilla follows with Phil and his friends, and finally, another trio goes down the third chute. Tragically for Tommy, Paul's trio goes down his slide and, when the two girls push him against the blades, he becomes another victim. As for Paul, because he was afraid to go down the slide, he ended up holding on at the last minute. Minutes later, Josh, who had climbed the slide from the outside, finds Paul and tries to pull him out. However, the park owner can't climb out and ends up slipping down the tunnel, becoming another body destroyed by the blades. After all the chaos, Conrad tells Kimberly and Chad to turn off the water pipes before more victims go down the slide. The girl obeys and goes to the park's storage room, but there she finds more blood, as well as Michael's body. In addition to her, Josh, even though he didn't manage to save Paul, climbs the stairs of the toboggan run and tells everyone to go down immediately. He tries to warn them about what's happening, but when he meets Phil's friends, one of them has the same impulsive attitude and goes down the tunnel anyway. Despite this, Josh doesn't give up and continues to warn everyone that if they go down the slide, they will be eliminated. However, Phil's other friends can no longer stand his story and just push him into the tunnel, which, fortunately, is not the same one where the blades were placed. Afterwards, Conrad also climbs the stairs, even though his foot is injured, and warns the teens not to go down. But like Josh, he too is thrown by Phil's friends. Josh makes his way safely down to the pool, which is now completely red. Likewise, the slide where the criminal placed the huge X-shaped razors is full of the parts of the victims who, by accident, lost their lives on a day that was supposed to be pure fun. The tragedy was repeated once again at the Wet Valley Water Park and soon became sad news that spread throughout the region. Months after this incident, Josh is with his girlfriend, Kimberly, in a law office. There, the lawyer talks about his late father's will, which left him, in addition to his fortune, the Wet Valley Water Park. The lawyer concludes by saying that his father's idea was to turn the site into a shopping center. But now that he has lost his life, Josh's permission is needed for the construction to be completed. Josh agrees to go ahead with the construction and signs the papers, receiving all the money from the deal. As well as him and his girlfriend, Priscilla is also in the room and, as the wife of the former owner of the park, she has also received her share of the purchase of the site. The boy hugs her and says he's sorry for everything that happened, including not being able to save her husband. In response, Priscilla tries to comfort him and says that the boy is not to blame for the tragedy in Wet Valley. However, after talking to Josh, the woman shows a suspicious expression on her face and then she recalls a memory from the past. In it, Priscilla sees herself, as a child, going down the toboggan run in the park and finding her father's lifeless body in the pool. She begged the staff for help, but they were kissing at the time and the girl's father lost his life because of the lack of help. From that day on, Priscilla vowed to take revenge on those responsible and intended to close down the water park once and for all. The opportunity came through Michael, and she won him over so that he would finally buy the park. Her plan worked and, after eliminating him, Priscilla planned an even worse attack, taking the lives of the young students so that the park would have no chance of surviving. Finally, with the park being sold and turned into a shopping mall, Priscilla completed her revenge and even profited from it, all as she had planned. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.